Hello, everybody. Today is my lecture, Unit 12, the dialectic of sensuous certainty in Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit. Before we enter Hegel's dialectical logic, we needed to mention the three fundamental laws of formal logic, because Hegel's dialectical logic might be properly understood when it is compared to the formal logic, which rests on the three laws. Aristotle described the fundamental principles by which thought can be acquired. At this foundation, he marked the three laws of thought, which remains basic in logic to the present. These laws are: 1. The law of identity, A is A. B. Law of non-contradiction, A and not A is impossible. 3. The law of excluding middle, A or not A is impossible. Hegel's dialectic seemed to violate the laws of formal logic in some respect. Moreover, he criticized indeed the laws of formal logic. However, not every work of his philosophy is dialectical. Only his science of logic and the phenomenology of spirit are genuinely dialectical. In this regard, we can reveal the essence of the dialectical thinking in consciousness chapter of Phenomenology of Spirit. Whatever name be given to that power of mind which assembles and compares my sensations, call it attention, mediation, reflection, or whatever you please. Certain it is that it exists in me and not in the object of those sensations. It is I alone who produce it. This sentence is the most important of all philosophy. Although it is displayed only in consequence of the impressions made on me by those objects. profession of faith of the Savoy the vicar in Emile by Rousseau. Rousseau's sort of connection between Cartesian ego and sensation is indeed the secret of the whole German idealism. This is a tool very important. Immanuel Kant interpreted the connection between Cartesian ego and sensation as a synthetic unity of transcendental perception, is a critique of pure reason. Fichte formulated the theory about the interaction of I and non-I. In this regard, Hegel too takes for granted the active function of ego in the process of cognition. However, Hegel's terminology of intelligence is mediation. In Germany, Vermittlung, different from his predecessors, Rousseau, Kant, and Fichte. Hegel's mediation is a dynamic. Mediation is a motion, movement, and process. Let's look at the diagram. Left side. The title is Relation of Influence on Hegel. Left side, Rousseau's Emile. Synthesis of the passive sense and the active ego. Plato's Theaetetus. Stepwise development of knowledge form. Fichte. Interaction of subject and object. Hegel's dialectic in Phenomenology of Spirit. He thinks about the mediation of the subject and the object, while the gestalt of both subject and object change into a higher stage. As over mentioned, the lowest stage of the knowledge in phenomenology is called sensuous certainty, or this and meaning something. Hegel starts a journey of truth with the lowest gestalt of subject, that is sensuous certainty. Sensuous certainty is the most common notion of knowledge which is believed to be real by everyone. The world of sensuous certainty is not different from our daily experience. The world is filled with many things, and I see them. As a matter of fact, I and the object are both independent. I see as a sensuous certainty plentiful things around me. Sensuous certainty finds an infinite wealth of things. Return to the text. The concrete content of sensuous certainty permits itself to appear immediately as the richest cognition, indeed as a knowing of an infinite wealth for which no limit is to be found. In addition, it appears as the most veritable, for it has not omitted anything from its object, but rather has its object in its complete entirety before itself. Hegel, Phenomenology of Spirit, paragraph 91. However, a problem appears again when we ask the reality of truth, what is knowledge? Therefore, Hegel's strategy of epistemology is similar to that of Plato in Theaetetus. In the world of sensuous certainty, the subject is separated from the object on condition of the separation of subject and object. The subject, sensuous certainty, wants to grasp the essence of the object. This state of mind is called immediate by Hegel. In other words, the sensuous certainty believes itself to grasp the immediate knowledge of the object. The immediate objects before the eye of sensuous certainty are, for example, this, here, and now. The immediate mind, the sensuous certainty, however, failed to comprehend the alleged truth. The immediately noticed truth escapes the scene of comprehension. That is to say, for example, to the question, what is now? We answer, for example, the now is the night. In order to put the truth of its sensuous certainty to the test, a simple experiment will suffice. And if now, this midday, we look at this truth, which has been written down, we will have to say that it has become later stale. Through this way of investigation, the truth of sensuous certainty loses his belief of certainty of its object. However, the failure of sensuous certainty resulted not only in despair, but also in positive moment from the previous process of cognition, appearance of the universal. To say easily, the concept of the this, now, or here remains, although the content of the grasp vanishes. Remaining is the universal, the name or the notion. This now or here are the name or noun to be understood. Night, but midday, the category of this now or here belong not to the object but to the subject. In this regard, Hegel speaks of the mediation of the subject and the object. Hegel's mediation in German, Vermittlung, means that subjective ideas are projected onto objective sensation. Notion of dialectic, sublation, and negation. In the analysis of sensual certainty, Hegel finds the core of his dialectical logic. We know the fact that the individuals are subsumed under the concept of the universal. However, Hegel expressed this content in his own way. The truth of the sensual certainty is not only destroyed but also preserved in the universal. Night is turned into midday. The truth of the individual now is denied, but night can be also now. The content of sensual certainty is destroyed at any point but preserved in the concept of universal. Thus, the concept of the sublation, Aufhebung in German, appears. The definition of the sublation is as follows: destroy, second, preserve, third, enhance. When combined, the notion of sublation consists in the destruction of the immediate content and the preservation of it on the higher level. The aspect of destruction is also as a negation determinated. The truth of sensual certainty lies in negating, denying the immediate content. The night was denied and then the midday is affirmed, and vice versa. The negation refers to the movement of the opposite direction of experience to form the higher stage of cognition, that is universal, as a perception. Hegel's notion of perception in phenomenology is the cognition of the universal things. For example, matter and its attributes. The universal is thus, in fact, the truth of the sensual certainty. The universal, however, is not a stable constant. On the contrary, the universal is the whole process of denying and affirming immediate moments. Hegel described the dialectical circulation as follows. It is clear both that the dialectics of the sensual certainty is nothing but the simple history of its movement, that is its experience, and that sensual certainty itself is nothing but just this history. Paragraph 109. Lastly, we need to think about the nature of Hegel's dialectic, whether it contradicts the formal logic. The concept of universals seem to deny the second law of the formal logic, that is the law of non-contradiction. The universal includes the negation and affirms it in itself. However, strictly taken, dialectic doesn't contradict the law of non-contradiction. The law of non-contradiction is nothing can be both exist and non-exist at the same time and in the same respect. Or no statement is both true and false. Hegel's notion of dialectic and sublation doesn't transgress the second law because the opposite propositions in the dialectic don't assert their validity at the same time and in the same respect. Dialectic only thinks of being at history of its movement. Let's look at a diagram once more. This means dialectical concept of the universal as now. Left side, mutual negation, negation, negation. Midday, morning, night. This total progress means universal in Hegel's dialectic. Okay, so far so good. Thank you very much for your listening and attention to my lecture. See you later.